All right, folks, we are so back. Day 4 of Freetrail's trailgating coverage of the Black Canyon Tarawera double golden ticket race weekend. Tonight, I am joined by 3 prolific co-hosts. We got the whole team together here tonight, starting in my top right here, Mammoth Lakes, California, Dani Moreno. Dani, nice to see you.
Nice to be back.
Your Sub-Hub co-host, EmKay Sullivan in Reno, Nevada. EmKay, what's up?
Hey.
And the man, the tireless legend, also in Mammoth Lakes, Tim Tollefson. Tim, good to see you, buddy.
Awesome to be here. I'm thinking Dani and I should have done this in the same room.
At this point, probably.
It's funny. This is our first time ever doing these remote trailgating shows, and I haven't even made it explicit, but the only reason I am not at Black Canyon or Tarawera is because I am so disciplined with my own training right now, guys. And so I am staying home, getting my training in. Tim, I'm just noticing you're rocking one of our fresh new t-shirts there from the Freetrail merch store. Thank you so much for doing that. Thanks for representing. Oh yeah, EmKay too. Appreciate it.
I think Dani does too. Yeah, we're all Freetrailing.
Shop.freetrail.com. Welcome to our viewing audience here. Again, day 4. Tonight's show, a sneaky great one. As I was putting the docket together for tonight, it was like, I thought this was going to be kind of a quick hitter episode, and now I feel like this might be the best one of the entire week, and I'm glad to have this team here to help carry the weight. We're going to start with some breaking news here. A Strava bomb dropped on the internet today. Holy smokes, folks, from race favorite Francesco Puppi, the great Italian. He posted a 6.6 mile run titled, "I'm injured, but I'm going to try." I think he had previously complained about an adductor injury, something like that. But guys, this throws a big wrinkle into our fantasy predictions, which we're going to get to at the end of the show. Comments from the panel. Maybe Tim, you can get us started with this one.
Well, as someone that has started far too many races in his career injured, I'm not one to talk. However, as we spoke last night, we were applauding athletes for kind of making those like mature decisions of not taking the line if they weren't feeling ready to compete. And I think you had referenced a post I did that said something to the effect of, I wasn't strong enough to not start. And, I hope Puppi is dealing with just maybe a minor strain, but given the course and the demands of 62 miles, it's maybe not the best advice to go out and try, but I totally relate, as I would do the same thing. I was harvesting his data the last couple of weeks, and it looks like maybe this could have been flared up from he was doing some 800 meter repeats at 7,000 feet in Flagstaff, at 440 pace, which that temptation to go a little too fast, to kind of like maybe tune up before a desert 100K is always there. But, I hope it's nothing serious, and I really would love to see him at State's full force. So if he does take a crack at it Saturday, I hope he also listens to his body, and should he need to pull the plug, have the confidence to do so.
Dani, EmKay, you guys want to add anything here?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can't really talk either, as somebody who lined up for Black Canyon last year, knowing full well I would come out on the other side pretty beat up. Sometimes, but I was going for a ticket. If I were Francesco actually, and I already had the ticket, maybe I'd think twice.
Oh,
yeah. I was just going to say, it's hard. It's such a spectrum when it comes to certain injuries. Like Tim said, it could be a minor sprain. It could be a pull. So hopefully he's just able to communicate with his team, and in the end, no judgment. There's so many athletes who, maybe learn that lesson multiple times. Maybe they learn it once, maybe they never learn it at all. We're all humans, and sometimes you just want to give it a go. With, of course, Black Canyon is very demanding, but it also has a lot of aid stations. So if he really feels in his heart he's not going to do more damage by trying the first hour or so and potentially pulling the plug, then that's his choice. But yeah, it's always just a bummer though, right before a big race, having to deal with something like this. But it's becoming more and more a part of the sport, having to face these decisions. And I don't know, we just always don't know the pressures each individual has to, everyone has individual contracts and stuff like that. So yeah, just my best to Puppi, and maybe we'll see him on Saturday.
Our hearts are with you, Puppi. I'm hoping, though, I don't expect it's the case that this is his last minute mental games where he is playing with the competition, making them feel like he's not a threat or that he might be bailing halfway through only to show up fully primed. And we should say, I mean, if you've been following him on Strava, you know the dude has been hitting it hard, like throughout the winter months, even over the holiday season. Puppi was doing some monster training. So hopefully this is but a blip on the radar. Hopefully he can get through a good race on Saturday. And most importantly, let's hope he's healthy and ready to rip come the end of June. That is certainly the most important thing. Anyway, wanted to put that in here at the top. Eventually we're going to get around to our predictions later. Ethan, if you don't mind pulling up that quote also here, this is a bit of a callback building off something Tim and I were talking about on last night's show. Tim had identified Coleman Cragen as a potential dark horse here this weekend, and also speculated about the fact that maybe he was coached or mentored by a certain Hayden Hawks, obviously a household name in our sport. I took the initiative to send a text to Hayden today and said, hey, we talked about you on the show. We talked about Coleman. Is it true that you're indeed coaching or mentoring him? This is the quote that Hayden sent me via text here today. I think it also could influence some fantasy ballots. So I'll just read it here for those who only tune in to the audio. He says, yes, I coach Coleman and have been friends with him and his family for years. He's a great guy and one of the hardest workers and nicest people I know. He is confident, healthy, and prepared going into the race. His training has been spot on and balanced. I feel very confident about his chances. We have done some training together and he is fit, ! He is also looking for a sponsor and support after a solid year last year. This is his second year in ultra running and first 100K. He has dreams of running Western States and making it big in the sport. And I believe he will! He has what it takes! I mean, that's a pretty sparkling endorsement from. Hey,
Yeah.
That's hype.
I was going to say, can he do all my recommendation letters going forward? Because that is a 5-star recommendation. Yeah, Coleman Cragen, EmKay and I don't know how it happened so fastly, but we gave him the nickname the Kraken at Mammoth Trail Fest because he was just cracking those races right open every time he went off the start line. And I think you guys spoke a little bit to this yesterday, but I mean, he took down Andy Wacker and Chad Hall on the ascent, which was extremely impressive by a few minutes. And just his great results last year through a variety of very runnable 50Ks. So to jump into this 100K with a previous Black Canyon 100K champion, it's kind of like taking direction from people of where you want to go. Like people who've been where you want to go. Like it doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. Well, first I'd say, I think Hayden has a future as a preacher after he retires from professional running because he could amp up any of us, get there in the pulpit and just let it rip. I think that we spoke about the need for agents, or not agents, but scouts in this sport. I bet there are already some of those out there that have targeted and identified this kid. And I would say if anyone's on the fence of maybe striking up a conversation, you have about 48 hours to do so before he potentially exits the stratosphere. And so, not to put pressure on him, but he also, I would wager, just given what, he has that guidance of Hayden and, seeing him race a few times, that if this one doesn't go as swimmingly well as maybe they both think it is, as I said the other night, he's going to put it together sooner or later. So, buy his stock while it's low. And then I think you're going to hold on to a rocket ship.
Yeah. And it's a good point. And there is a pattern at Black Canyon on the men's side, especially where there are these sort of breakout performers. We'll remember Will Murray from last year, Trueheart Brown from 2022. We'll talk about him later. Jupiter Carrera Casas was an unknown until Black Canyon. So who knows? Coleman might be that guy this year. Anyway, some fun things just to throw in at the top here. Breaking news and a callback to last night's episode. Just setting up tonight's show here again. We are going to be sort of focusing on just kind of some last minute final thoughts. I put together some great stats with the help of the team here. A big thank you especially to Travis Longcar, who is in the chat here, who helped create some of these visuals and just crunch some of the numbers. Thanks also to Ethan Vosberg Productions, for the great production help here tonight and throughout the week. Tomorrow night, just a reminder, we will be back for the instant recap show from Tarawera. Again, it is Friday in New Zealand right now. So tomorrow night, the race happens tomorrow in New Zealand. We will be back in studio to do the full recap once those golden tickets are distributed, once sort of like the top 3, top 5 women start coming in. So stay tuned for that. It probably won't be at 5 p.m. just based on timing, but we'll post on Instagram and you can find whatever time we go live. I'm thinking probably more like 6 or 6:30 tomorrow night. And then of course on Saturday, we'll do the Black Canyon instant recap, but that show will not be live here on YouTube. So to not interfere with the Aravaipa Mountain Outpost live stream. Play fantasy, pick 10 deep for the Black Canyon 100K, 5 deep for the Tarawera 100K, 5 deep for Black Canyon 50K. We're all going to be making our predictions here at the end of the show. So feel free to throw yours in the chat. We would love to see. Maybe you'll influence our own ballots. And certainly we love the interaction here in the chat while we are live. We do have great prize packages on the line. Some of the merch that our co-hosts are wearing from Freetrail, plus some great ACG Ultra Flies from our friends at All Conditions Gear. A big thank you to them for supporting our coverage. And also smash that subscribe button. I'm launching into a bit of a stats corner here, team. Ethan, if you don't mind bringing up the Black Canyon to Western States women's list here. Travis and I were corresponding today, and we figured let's do a little analysis as to how people who perform well at Black Canyon end up faring at Western States 4 months later. So this is just looking at data from the last 5 runnings going back to 2021. Kind of an interesting story to tell here. So just like tagging a couple top level things, or maybe taking it year by year. 2025, we'll remember Riley Brady won the race. Tara Dower second. EmKay Sullivan, our co-host, was in 3rd place. If we look at how they fared at Western States, Riley, Tara both DNF'd, and EmKay was a DNS, obviously. EmKay will eventually talk about when you're going to take your pregnancy deferral and go back. 2024, Rachel Drake. Guys, did I just drop off?
You
Yeah,
did.
you're back now.
I don't know what happened. Anyway, I'm glad that this has been the first time we've had tech issues here during broadcasting week. But anyway, where I was going is 2024, Rachel, Lauren Puretz, Becca Wendell were our golden ticket recipients. They all finished in the top 20 at Western States. 2023, Keeley, Henninger, Heather Jackson, DNF, but Meg Morgan hung on for 10th place at Western States. 2022, Dominika Stelmach, Anne-Marie Madden, Taylor Nowlin all finished in the top 20. And 2021, Brittany Peterson, Sarah Kais, and Maria Vargas all finished in the top 20. So we'll get to the men here in just a second, but any comments from the panel here? I think we will have more context once we see the men, but any comments or anything jump out to you guys from this historical, comparison between Black Canyon and Western States performance?
I mean, for the women's performances, it almost feels like the higher up you finish at Black Canyon, the lower down you're going to finish and or DNF at Black Canyon, just from these results. Like Abby was 5th, which is like pretty low compared to the rest of these women. She goes on to win. Whereas like Brittany Peterson is kind of a different story, but you got Taylor Nowlin, 4th place, finishes top 10, but then you have Keeley and Heather and Riley and Tara who all drop out after having like 1-2 days.
Anything else from the rest of the crew here?
I know you have the men's stats coming up, but I think it's a hard race to figure out what level of fitness to come into.
Yeah.
Because like looking at Abby Hall as like the solo winner, the ticket rolled down to her. She technically didn't win the ticket on the day. And then she kept on racing, and those races added to her fitness, which she has said numerous times, like she thinks that's what allowed her to then have such a dominant win at Western States. And so if people are coming into this race with no golden ticket in top performance shape, like I think we're all just still figuring out like how do you replicate that again 4 months later. So maybe the women are a little bit behind the men in figuring out how quite to do that. But yeah, it's tough to see just kind of like at this view right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's Western States is a tough one. I know Keely, that one year she rolled her ankle really bad and had to drop out at Michigan Bluff. You know, obviously she came back and secured her top 10 the fall or last year. And so she's back in for 2026, but it's tough. And what I took from that is basically if you finish the race, having gotten a golden ticket, you're going to be top 20, but it's, you know, I think it just highlights, you know, there's a big degree of chance as you line up for something like 100 miles through the canyons and the high country of Western States.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's the point then. The more time you have between your golden ticket and Western States, the higher probability of something crazy happening or just like something you can't expect. Because to that point, like Tarawera last year, she just got really sick.
Right.
And like had a tough time. That's hard to calculate for.
Right.
Did you guys see this stat in the comments about the average finishing place of golden ticket winners from Black Canyon?
No, read it.
It says excluding DNFs and DNSs from golden ticket recipients, Black Canyon 100 has an average finishing place of 9.8 at Western States, 10.2 for men and 9.1 for women.
Okay, great. And I think, yeah, he's crediting Aid Station Fireball. Thank you to Liam Tryon for always crunching great numbers for us. And yeah, I appreciate all of your guys' perspective on this. I think the thing that I was going to add is just like, it's really hard to be in super prime golden ticket fitness in February and then carry it through till June. And actually, I think that's a perfect segue to then start looking at the men. So if Ethan could pull that up here, the men have definitely had a little bit more success here. So just taking it year by year before I pass it to you guys. Last year, Seth, who won Black Canyon, was 6th at Western States. String Bean, who was 3rd at Black Canyon, got 14th. Of course, Will Murray was one of those bad luck DNSs, I guess similar to EmKay, though, for different reasons. 2024, Hayden, Hoopeter, and Chris Myers all finished in the top 20. Hayden was on the podium. Chris was in the top 10. Hoopeter was 17th. 2023, Tom Evans, Anthony Costales, Janusz Kowalczyk. We're all in the top 11. A really good year for the Black Canyon to Western States double. 22, Scott Trayer was 10th. He was 2nd at Black Canyon, 10th at Western States. Jeff Colt, 3rd at Black Canyon, 11th at Western States. Trueheart Brown that year, we'll remember, wire-to-wire victory at Black Canyon, and then was a DNS because he's a wildland firefighter, and there was a fire that broke out that required him to work during Western States week. And we really haven't seen much of Trueheart since. We hope to see him come back eventually and avenge that, you know, really unfortunate timing from a few years ago. In 2021, let's see, Tyler Green was 1st at Black Canyon, 2nd at Western States. Obviously great. Eric Sensman was 2nd. I think this is before it was a super golden ticket, so there was only 2 on the line in 2021. Eric Sensman was 2nd, then 13th. So I think there's a couple of things that I wrote down here that are interesting. I think the best stat is that 3 times in 4 years, so 2021, 2023, 2024, the winner of Black Canyon went on to podium at Western States. So not only just like a top 10 or top 20, but a win at Black Canyon to a podium at Western States. Every single year, someone from Black Canyon has gone on to finish in the top 10 at Western States for the men. And then, yeah, I guess 4 out of 5 years, the winner has gone on to top 10. And the only exception there is Trueheart Brown. So we're only looking at the last 5 years. And 4 out of those 5 years, the winner has gone on to top 10 at Western States. So pretty clear, consistent, high performance, because the only person who didn't was the only person who didn't start the race at Western States. Comments from the panel about the difference here between the women's and men's success across these 2 races.
I wonder if this is just a symptom of, I mean, the men's side of the sport is just more developed than the women's side of the sport. Like, you know, I think that the women's side of ultra running is really on the up right now. And so we'll probably see this kind of looking more like the men's maybe in like 2 or 3 years. But for now, realistically, we're still a couple of years behind the men who have been doing this for years and years and years.
The thing that stands out to me kind of immediately is that Tom, Tyler, and Hayden, prior to that year where they placed at Black Canyon Western States, they all had Western States experience. So maybe they knew, like, going in that the goal was not to be in the best shape possible, but enough shape to get the spots. And I just remember Tom, I forget which interview, it might have been with you, Dylan, like post that Black Canyon interview, he's like, well, the race is in June. Like, I got the data I needed today. I'm peaking for June. Hayden had obviously raced before, and Tyler had also raced at Western. So maybe they just had a better idea of what they were getting into. Whereas that didn't stand out to me on the women's side, but maybe that was the case too. I don't know.
Yeah, and Hayden was kind of hurt going into that race, so he may have been a little suppressed as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. So I agree, like, with what you both said, and what EmKay was touching on, I think is going to play into a few of these other topics that we bring up. But really, I think this is just like, if we zoom back, it's why a race like Black Canyon is a perfect spot for someone like a underdog or an unknown like Coleman to crack onto the scene, because what Dani said, so many of the pros that are structuring their season around these marquee events know that to be ready in June, late June, or be ready at the end of August, they can't be firing at top end in February. So it's almost like our analog to the indoor track season. Like, if the fact that like Grant Fisher and Cole Hawker broke the indoor world record in the 3K last year was bonkers, but normally that doesn't happen because you're firing at like a 7 and 8 out of 10. And I think for a lot of the top end of our sport, for women and men, to come into February 14th ready to really take a crack, it's hard. And so that's where we're going to see some of those random ballers get onto the podium and grab their tickets. And that might translate into not as great of a Western States performance because they either haven't done 100, haven't had a chance at Western States 100, or a myriad of other factors.
This is such a great conversation, guys. And if I were somebody who receives a golden ticket from this year, I would really pay attention to this data. And the three major examples that you guys have already mentioned, but just to double click on them. Abby Hall last year clearly wasn't in top form, finished 5th at Black Canyon, built on that 4th place at Chianti. Then come June, she's ready for her best race of the year. Like you mentioned, Dani, Hayden Hawks, when he won and set the course record at Black Canyon, he was injured in the spring. He was injured actually at Canyons. And it wasn't until after Canyons that he started to come back around. And of course, then finished on the podium at Western States. And of course, Tom Evans is like the perfect example of the guy who is a surgeon when it comes to peaking at the right time. He knew he didn't need to be in tip-top fitness in February when his major goal was in June. So to those who do get the golden tickets here, especially those who don't have Western States experience,
shut it down, take a good break, and then build back up.
Exactly.
Take a vacay.
And not to say that Riley couldn't have held it, but it does beg that question that we said the other night. Were they firing too hot in February to run 8:16 at Black Canyon?
Well, and they had also smashed the course record at Javelina prior as well, right? So it was like October hot, February hot, June maybe a little cooked.
Yeah. And like, look at Seth too. Course record, Black Canyon, win at the Canyons 50K. He still ran sub 15 at Western States. It was a good day.
In his debut.
But yeah, but it could be, but it's like, we're talking about that like 2% of fatigue that eventually can make you fade from 3rd to 6th, right? So
margins are thin.
Point is, this I think is important and interesting, right? It's like for those who really come through this race, and as we just saw, or as we're about to see, the closing margins, the winning margins are really coming down for both men and women. Like, you do have to squeeze yourself to get these golden tickets and to finish on the podium or even in the top 5 if the tickets start rolling down. Those types of efforts have consequences. You have to recover. You got to shut it down in the spring for a little bit before you do the critical final build up towards Western States. Great fun convo. I'm so happy we did this. Ethan,
I'm proud of us. That was like, it's off the cuff.
We just figured it out. Ethan, if you can pull up the scenario speculation, this is another new fun maybe ongoing segment that we'll figure out ways to incorporate going forward. But I was just thinking, like, let's go back and look at how people have won this race in the last 5 years in the modern era, right? So just looking at the men first, Tyler Green, 2021, it was a late come from behind victory past Craig Hunt, I think in the last 5 miles or so. Craig ended up dropping out, walking back to the Table Mesa aid station, and Tyler won over Eric Sensman by charging Eric Sensman by 4 minutes. Trueheart Brown won in wire-to-wire fashion, shocked the world that day. Nobody had heard of him, but was in the lead from start to finish. Still only won by, less than 6 minutes. Anthony Costales, it was a legendary duel with Tom Evans. 2024, Hayden he was with that pack. Jupiter Carrera Casas, Chris Myers were chasing from behind. It was a second half separation in that race. Pretty similar with Seth last year, running away from Eli Hemming and Will Murray, especially. And then, of course, Stringbean charged up onto the podium, passing Eli late. Meanwhile, on the women's side, 2021, similar to Tyler, 2021, it was Brittany Peterson who won in dominant fashion, huge margin of victory, about 25 minutes. Claire Gallagher, 2022, was a late come from behind victory, similar to Tyler Green's the year before. 2023, Keeley had that epic duel with Heather, kind of similar to Anthony versus Tom. 2024, Rachel Drake sort of ran away from Heather Jackson in the middle of the race. I think Heather ended up fading, and then Lauren Puretz and Becca Wendell came up and finished on the podium behind Rachel. Riley Brady, of course, was more assertive, took the lead before the halfway point, held it, and built a healthy almost 9-minute gap at the finish. It's kind of interesting, right? So if we take all these different scenarios, wire to wire, a first half separation, a second half separation, a head-to-head duel, or the late come from behind. Obviously, we've seen the race play out in many different ways and won in many different ways now in the last 5 years. I think this is an interesting thing also to contemplate. And of course, we're going to be making our predictions later in the show, but maybe introducing this here to the panel. I don't know if anybody has any comments about this or just trends that you notice or speculation about how you think it might play out this year. I think it would be fun to discuss.
I mean, I think that wire to wire is just going to become less and less common every, time we run this race. We saw a lot of movement in the final miles on the women's and the men's side over the last 2 years, even if it wasn't just those first place finishers. And I think that's just going to be the case from now on. Like, that last 10 miles is so crucial, and we're going to see lots of people falling way behind, and we're going to see plenty of people who ran the perfect race, like moving into third in those final miles.
Yeah, I think that with the exception of getting a Puppi or a Jim in the field, I think we're going to continue to see a men's race break open late because, as EmKay said earlier, the depth of the sport is just increasing year over year. And so I think, like what you might see in marathoning, you're going to have a pack that will eventually splinter, but it's going to be late stages because there are so many people that think they have a chance, whether or not they actually should be up there. And if they actually have a chance, but they're going to think they have a chance. And so I think the women, as we know, historically are a little more mature in their racing tactics, and it's not as mature of a sport. So I think that leads to like the higher likelihood of maybe a breakaway early in the first half where, a woman's going to recognize, hey, I can't hold this pace. I'm going to do what's best for me versus maybe doing something that, is what all of the people around them are doing. And then I also think that you could end up with, maybe a Tara or a Riley who are maybe, slightly higher like level than some of the other women in the field, where I think the men's, it's a little more blurred in terms of these tiered, if we were to rank and rate them.
Great discussion. Go ahead, Dani.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think people are starting to realize that over the past, say, 5 years, the people who go out for it more times than not are coming back less and less. So they're less inclined to give those people space. I think Trueheart Brown was probably of a previous era, which is crazy to say because that was only 4 years ago, where someone was like, who is this guy? He's going to come back. He's like, he'll come back, halfway through. and he never did, which probably took a lot of people off guard. I just don't think that's no longer the case, especially watching like the women's race last year with Mary Denholm, taking out with a hot lead, Riley and the rest of the group, like giving her a little bit of space, but still kind of keeping that that string attached.
Great. All right. So this is a perfect segue to go to our next graphic, which is the margin of victory and the spreads that we've seen in recent years. So we are looking at the women on the left, men on the right here. So what Travis did is he crunched the numbers to assess the margin of victory, the spread across the podium, so first to third, and the spread across the top 10. Couple of things that I think are really interesting here. I mean, look at the average margin of victory for the men now in the last 5 years. Just a little over 5 minutes. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's in a 7.5 hour race to this point. It's coming down to 5 minutes. And if you look at last year, the podium was separated by less than 7. The top 10 separated by a little over 30 minutes. Sort of what Tim was just saying about the year over year increased competitiveness, the increased density of the competition, and just like the, I think also tangential to, the improvement in nutrition science and especially cooling at Black Canyon, of course, the super shoes nowadays. There's just like more factors that are keeping the pack together until later. 4 out of the 5 years that we're looking at here, the men's podium was separated by less than 10 minutes. That's, I think, pretty interesting. 2024 was the only outlier there, and that was a little over 12, a little, I guess, under 13. And then 2025, obviously, the green bars indicate the tightest margin, the tightest spreads across these categories. So 2025 was the closest margin across all 3 categories. Meanwhile, over on the women's side, the spreads are obviously a little bit bigger. 2025, sort of surprisingly, had some of the largest margins that we see across these different categories. Comments from the panel here. EmKay, you want to get us started?
I mean, I will just kind of go back to the comment that I made earlier where I just think that the women's sport is still developing. And so we're just going to see like this squeeze get a little bit smaller. But last year, Riley's course record obviously kind of blew that whole thing out of the water. Because the course record previously was like 8:42 and they took it down to what was it, like 8:16?
Yeah.
So I think just nobody was really mentally ready for that kind of jump except for maybe Riley on that day. And I think that's why we see such a big margin, because it was just like an amazing performance. But otherwise, I think that's going to continue to squeeze down. Whereas the men's is probably going to become pretty consistently like this average of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I looked at this initially, maybe it's been a long day, but it was sort of a Rorschach test. And I was like, well, it could be whatever I want it to be as I kind of try and tease out these numbers. But as I kind of like got my bearings, I think it just like highlights what we've all been saying for the last 10 minutes in that the men's sport, it might be a little more mature, but we're often more immature in our racing tactics. And I think that with the women, with the exception of 2021, which brings the average margin of victory down with Brittany Peterson's blowout, I think that we actually, like, this proves it out where the margin of victory isn't too much different between the top 2. The podium spread of 3 starts to get larger. And by the time you go to the top 10, it's like, we're entering the Grand Canyon verse, where I think it just kind of highlights that. It makes me excited that the next 5-10 years for women's ultra running is just going to like be really fun to follow, even more than it has been the last decade.
So a quick challenge before we get to you, Dani, just flagging it for Travis. I think that is an interesting observation, right? If we could strike the 2021 race from this table, what would then the average margin of victory be for the women? Because it would be very close to the men's average of 5 minutes, it looks like. I mean, the last 4 years has been really tight. Go ahead, Dani.
Yeah, no, I definitely would second that. And per like the density of women's trail running, like it also depends on which race you're looking at. Because if you've looked at Western States the last couple of years, their spread has gotten crazy small. And you're looking at more and more of those down to the wire races. So maybe that's not happening at every single golden ticket race, but it is starting to become closer to the men's margin of victory. But yeah, good point on 2021 for sure.
Okay. So squeezing in a little bit of a prognostication here. I think 2026 for the women is going to look a lot like 25 did for the men. As we talked about here throughout the week, we think the Black Canyon 100K women's race might be the race of the weekend. And of course, we already did our preview. We'll make our predictions later in the show, but I have a feeling it's going to be one for the ages. And given the weather and stuff, I think it's going to be very tight all the way to the end. Anyway, that was really fun way to start the show. Just banging through some history and some fun stats. Of course, we are going to cover the 50K here. We're going to launch into a bit of a 50K preview with Dani Moreno, EmKay Sullivan, the, uncontested experts of 50K distance, knowledge and prognostication. Let's see. Let's start with the course here. Ethan, if you don't mind, if you want to pull up the course flyover as we've done the last couple of nights. Again, this is the first 50K of the Black Canyon 100K course. So we've talked about it a bunch. Anything come to mind? Maybe Dani, you can get us started on this of just what the Black Canyon 50K course is like. If there's anything else we should add based on the conversations we already had this week.
Yeah, I mean, it is a net downhill course, and it's the fastest part of the Black Canyon course. Something that sticks out to me is that there are a couple of these dips that, it looks like they're still going net downhill, but it starts to flatten out. Also, it just being a 50K where you could pretty much see the people around you the entire time definitely has to be something mental you need to be ready for. And just constant turns. You need to know how to run fast while turning and be efficient with your lower body and your hips, or else that's going to catch up quite quickly from a mechanic standpoint. You're just not going to be as efficient as other runners on the course.
So just quickly, this is Jeshrin Small's Strava file. He was the men's champion last year, a little under 32 miles, only 2,200 feet of climbing, an average pace of 6:22. And as we've done the last couple of days, take a second to admire the splits for those first dozen miles, right? Low fives, low sixes, and of course, 6:22 average pace. It's a fast course. Tim, you want to say anything on this?
So as Dani points out, it 6:22 average on this type of terrain is really running closer to 6 flat or under. The constant turns and little undulations up and down, as we've mentioned multiple times this week, it is rhythm breaking. It takes a lot out of you. And so it's not like running 6:22 pace, which all of these men could do, probably for 50 miles on flats or on true California carpet. This is like Arizona asphalt, and it's broken up, chunky asphalt that needs being repaired. And so I think that it's deceptively challenging, as we keep harping on. And so to maintain that pace, it is a little hard, but it's easy because it's net downhill for 18, but then you pay the price because you didn't recognize how much it actually took out of your legs. And so that final 12 to 14 miles is where it's really going to make the difference. And obviously that's true for any race, but in this one, particularly so.
EmKay, you want to close us down on this? Actually,
no,
Ethan,
you guys covered it well. Yeah.
Ethan, why don't you pull up the course profile here just so the audience can see this too. Again, it's the first 50K, the 100K course, 32 miles, 2,200 feet of climbing. Allison Baka won the women's race last year in 3:45. Jeshrin was 3:22. Allison Baka was about 7 minutes. Pace flat for her course record win. And we should say that prior to last year, it was a 60-kilometer race. So last year was the first time they ran the 50K. So Jeshrin and Allison have the course records here. We'll see. And they're both back in the race. So we'll see if they get challenged. But that is what the course profile looks like. Again, looks easy on paper, deceptively hard. It is fast, but you got to be on the gas, twisty, turny, technical, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be super, super fun to watch. Moving on to some of the contenders. Before we do, thank you to All Conditions Gear. Everybody go check out allconditionsgear.com. The newly released ACG Ultrafly is going to be all over the race courses in Arizona and New Zealand this weekend. We super appreciate their coverage. You can check out everything they're doing over at the Olympics. Also, follow them on Instagram at ACG and go to mentalathletic.com to see the cool sort of indoor backyard race they're putting on in Milano, Italia right now. Women's contenders, notable scratches. We've got Ashley Brasovin, who is a late scratch here. I think it was today she pulled out, and then Caroline Alcorta would be kind of the two notable that you'll want to keep off of your fantasy team. I'm going to toss this to you, Dani, first. Again, Allison Baka back in the field. Tell us, assess her prospects to repeat and who the biggest threats are to that repeat.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to give the returning champ some kudos. And from what I understand, she was just plowing through the men's field coming into the finish last year, placing well overall. Top challengers from EmKay and I's assessment. First off, Janelle Links of Thornton, Colorado. Hopefully she is showing up. When Janelle's ready to go, she's ready to go. She had a fantastic season. I want to say it was 2022 where she won the Golden Trail. It was kind of like a different series outside of the World Series. It was a national series that went into a stage race, and she absolutely destroyed the competition there. But previous Broken Arrow 23K winner as well. And the girl's got speed. She's got a lot of grit. Like, Janelle is a competitor. We also have Erin Moyer coming off a 109 half marathon at the end of last year, and she also just missed the marathon trials mark at CIM in December. We have Jane Moss, who had an incredible, I would say, next tier breakout year last year. She's just so versatile, top 10 at the World Short Trail, has a FKT on the Grand Tetons, and was a 4th place finisher at Broken Arrow, just missing that spot. She eventually got it, which was cool. And then I would say as well, Alyssa Clark, San Diego, Christina Rand up Seattle, and the great Amanda Basham, Boulder, Colorado.
Say more
I
about.
I would add Lindsay Allison to that list as well.
Oh,
Bingo.
yes.
Yeah.
There we go. She also just ran a net downhill race in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Her and Jane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about Jane Mouse, because I met her a couple of years ago at a Cirque Series event where she dominated. And then last year was kind of a major breakthrough for her, being the top American at the Short Trail World Championships and getting that FKT on the Grand Teton. Like you said, obviously World Championships was very mountainous. Grand Teton, you almost can't get more exposed and technical than that. You think the 50K leg speed is there for somebody who feels to me like more of a mountain specialist than Jane Mouse? Because it feels to me like she's almost like a Coleman type character, where she's just like waiting for that major breakthrough to where she becomes a little bit more of a household name.
Yeah, I mean, she was second to Tara Dower last year at the Lake Sonoma 50 miler, which I would argue is like a more runnable route compared to some of those other courses. And also, I think her 4th place finish at Broken Arrow 46K is like pretty telling of what her 50K legs can be like. Not that Broken Arrow is necessarily as runnable as something like Black Canyon, but I would argue those trails are super runnable if you take the elevation out of the picture. So I think Jane is like definitely ready to rip this.
I'm looking at Alice. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh no, you guys unsurprisingly took all of my additional women that I wanted to list. The other one that we got to give some love to the great Des Linden. It's her 50K trail debut. And while I don't think she'll be a factor in this, I think it's just, evident that she's continued to commit herself to the sport. And I'm excited to see her actually pin on a bib against some really talented women in their prime. And, I know she already has a deep appreciation for what trails are, having been out in the French Alps. I've been in the Japanese Alps with her. And I'm just excited for her to actually truly start her trail career here.
Yeah. A good tune up for Marathon des Sables.
Yeah, how could we forget the Boston Marathon Queen, Des Linden? One more name, Hao Thi Ha, Vietnamese runner, just absolute weapon. She was 6th at last year's Western States, and just always is on a tear in races in Asia. So big shout out to her. I think
4th at CCC 2 years in a row.
Last year she was 16th, but yeah, she was 4th in 2024.
Yeah. And Takako Takamura too is also in the 50K race, and you got to scroll way down to get to those names because it's sorted by, I think, Ultra Sign Up ranking. So those are the ones to flag: Takako, Des, and Ho Ha. Super, super interesting. And yeah, it reminds me, I got a text from Matt Feldick this morning, the director of marketing at Aravaipa, and he was like, dude, I'm so psyched, man. Like, we have a race this weekend that has the defending Western States champion, the defending Black Canyon champion, the defending Javelina champion, and he didn't even list it, but of course, a Boston Marathon champion.
A bronze medalist at the Olympics.
It's like, what a cool collection of characters that are assembling for Black Canyon, both in the 100K and the 50K. Are we ready to move over to the men?
Yeah.
All right, EmKay, you get us started on this one.
Well, I think the kind of the big two names outside of Jesharun, who's the returning champ here, are Chris Myers and Seth Ruling. Chris was obviously second at Western States last year. Seth won Black Canyon and then was sixth at Western States. I also think Adam Peterman, despite that sad Western States that he had last year, like, you absolutely cannot count Adam Peterman out as a favorite for a 50K distance that is this runnable. Same with Jupiter Carrera Casas. You know, he was third at Black Canyon in 100K in 2024. He was seventh at Canyons 100K last year on a bit of a struggle day, but he's extremely fast on this like flat kind of terrain. I'm calling it flat. It's, you know, we talked, it's very squiggly, but very fast still. Some of the, like, I guess maybe dark horseier type names, but still you should know these names. Ryan Sullivan was third at JFK 50 mile 2 years ago. Cole Campbell, I think, is two-time US 50K champion at this point.
Stud.
Yeah. Remy Leroux from Quebec. He was second to Eli, I believe, at your Big Alta 50K last year in his debut at the distance. Cade Michael, a name to look out for there. And then, yeah, I mean, Jesh is returning, and Jesh is like so solid at 50Ks. You pretty much can't ever count him out.
Well, Dani, what do you want to add?
I'm really excited for Adam to be in a competitive 50K. We can't forget his string. I think it was like JFK 50 miler, Chuckanut 50K, Canyons 100K, just all like very runnable races, taking the course record down at that point when he ran Chuckanut. You know, he ran at the University of Colorado. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited to see, you know, this Missoula v Boulder matchup and what's going to happen out there.
Yeah, it's so funny when Adam is kind of like flying under the radar, and he recently enlisted a coach, I think, for the first time. I'm not sure if this is the first race where he's been working with John Fitzgerald, but it is relatively new for him, which I feel like is a sign of maturation for a historically self-coached athlete to look outside of himself and take himself to the next level. Tim, anything you want to add here on the men?
Well, because I'm going to give some pretty big shout outs in the 100K to my Chico alum, I got to give some credit to Aaron Mora, a name that nobody knows here, but he's a 29-minute 10K multi-time All-American at Chico State. So he's he might be rocking one of those Anthony Costales jerseys. So I just want to throw his name out into the ethers here.
Wow, that's some good intel. The Chico boys. Hopefully Costales lent him the Chico it's the Wildcats, right?
Yeah, the Wildcats and the spotted polka dot jersey that he was rocking at Western States. Yeah,
maybe Travis could do this. If somebody could find the photo of Anthony Costales rocking the Chico jersey to victory at the Black Canyon 100K, we should put that on screen for our
I'm going to be wearing mine on Saturday. So...
All right, good challenge for Travis. Text it to Ethan. Let's get that Chico love on screen here. Super interesting race for 50K. Hey, Ethan, I'm getting a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you can help with that, but anyway, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, one thing I was unsure about that Corinne sort of suggested earlier is that Chris Myers might be pacing Eli in the 100K, and therefore he's not really targeting the 50K as much. But I guess who knows? Chris, obviously a fantastic athlete, kicking off his season, not returning to Western States next year, instead focusing on UTMB. So it'd be cool.
I just did a quick ultra sign up scroll down on the men as well. And Hiroki Kai is a name from Japan that I think we should also put into the mix there.
Okay, Ethan's got the photo. Ethan, if you could pull it up here for the Chico peeps, a very small subset of the trail running audience. But
No, it's the largest subset of the audience. Everybody knows Chico.
Yeah.
Come on.
This is from Western States. This is where he got his podium finish at Western States, rocking the Chico jersey like an absolute
Yes.
G. Let's go, Wildcats.
Yeah, gotta love a walk-on.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm just scrolling through to make sure. Oh, I got to give some love to my boy Joan De Leon, who's Freetrail's favorite runner. We sort of adopted him into our family when we met him at that same Cirque Series event that I talked about with Jane Mouse. I think he's got the capability to turn some heads. He just ran like a 63-minute half. Joan De Leon from Crested Butte, Colorado, one of our friends. I also was going to say, Seth mentioned Cade Michael last night, who's part of their sort of extended Boulder Boys crew. So Seth, Jeshrin Small, and Cade Michael all train together, I think, with frequency there in Boulder. And everybody who knows Cade is like, look out for this guy. And he hasn't yet had like that big breakthrough. He's been top 10. I think he was top 10 in the Headlands Golden Trail race. But I think he's the type of guy who could win or podium here this weekend to actually sort of progress the career forward one step at least. Anyway, really fun races on both sides here for the 50K. And again, we talked about this in Monday's show. One of our top 10 storylines is just the general growth of the 50K over time and its significance in the professional racing calendar. A lot of these events are becoming multi-distance, especially with the World Trail Majors now. Got the 100K for Black Canyon on Saturday, the 50K on Sunday. A really great opportunity for two, if not world-class, national-class races here in our backyard, which is awesome to see. And it is going to be live streamed. We should say, shout out to Mountain Outpost. Not only all day on Saturday for the 100K, they're also live streaming the 50K on Sunday. Race starts also at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. both days, and I'm sure they start the stream 30, 45 minutes before the race actually starts. And we will certainly be in the chat for sure. I'm going to be watching it all day. Okay, are we ready to make our predictions here, team?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's start here with the 50K just for ease. And I'll get us started. Let's do our top three for the 50K. And then next we'll do Tarawera. And then after that, we'll end with the coup de grace, the Black Canyon 100K. So my top three on the women's side for the 50K, Allison Baka. I've got her repeating with a narrow victory over Jane Mouse, who I appreciated the comment about her leg speed at Lake Sonoma. Tim earlier in the week made the comment that the Black Canyon course, though in the desert, is similar to Lake Sonoma in that it's constantly uppy, downy, twisty, turny, death by 1,000 cuts, as they say. I've got Jane Mouse in second, and then I've got Lindsay Allison in third place. I was texting with her fiance, Ryan Becker, just today, actually, and he said it's been such a low tide winter in Telluride where they live that Lindsay's in great fitness. She's been able to run a lot. One of the silver linings of this drought we're experiencing across the West. On the men's side, Seth Ruling becomes the first guy to win both distances at Black Canyon, I think. I didn't do a deep research on that, but I would assume if he were to win 50K, he would be the first one to win both distances. I've got him winning narrowly ahead of Adam Peterman. And then I kept Chris Myers in third. I just had a feeling about it. He was third place here last year behind Jeshrin and Eric Lagerstrom. So I'm saying back-to-back third places for Chris Myers. That's my top three. Dani, you go next.
Oh, dang. Women, I also have Allison taking the win again. It seems like she cracked this race. I have actually Erin Moyer in second. You can't deny that 109 leg speed on a downhill course. Tells me she knows how to run a downhill course. And then Jane Mouse in third. And then on the men's side, I'm going to say Adam Peterman taking the win, like 6th place at OCC this last year. Like that was a very crazy men's race to see in person, and watching him come off into town for that final 10K, seeing him at a couple points just how fast he was hauling and then backing that up with another top 10 at Long Trail. I just think this is his bread and butter. But I think it is going to be a duke to the end with Seth Ruling. They're both just really, really fast guys. And then we have last year's champion, Jeshurun Small, in third.
Good picks. Tim, you go next.
All right. I was about to say, I think Danny's copying my homework, but for the women, I have Allison Baka defending. So it sounds like we might be unanimous there. Aaron Moyer for second place. I got special love for anyone that's come to Trail Fest. And also you can't deny, as Danny said, a 109.5. And then I got Lindsay Allison as third. She also not only a Trail Fest alum, she helped me out with some data entry stuff for the Eacher website recently, as I really struggle with that. And trying to upload things so that people get their UTMB indexes it takes me weeks, and Allison did it in about 10 minutes. So
she works.
Shout out to Lindsay.
She works in tech, we should say. So she knows her way around the internet.
And then for the men, I'm going to go. I think it's still the year of the boy, and Seth is going to take the dub. We got Cade in second. He's been on my radar ever since he came to Trail Fest. I agree with you, Dylan. I think he's someone that is just waiting for a breakthrough. And while this isn't going to be it will be a stepping stone towards something later this year. And then I put Peterman as third place. Myers, Chris was my guy, but now knowing that he's pacing, I just got to give the nod to Peterman on this one.
EmKay, close us down on the 50K.
If you listen to the SubHub podcast, you will not be surprised by the fact that Danny and I have the same exact podiums. I have Allison Baka coming back as a repeat. I have Erin Moyer taking second. She's a personal friend of mine, and I very much believe in her for this race. And Jane Mouse in third. And then on the men's side, I have Adam Peterman in first, Seth Ruling in second, and Jeshurun Small in third.
We didn't practice that, by the way.
We didn't. Yeah. This is
all right.
Collusion.
We hang out too much.
Very important timeout for some breaking news that's evolving in my text messages right now. David Lamb just sent me a text saying, Allison Baka told me she's racing the Mesa Half Marathon the day before the 50K, LOL. And all four of us just
Ooh, okay.
Hey, that means that she's going to be fresh. She'll have like a 110 in her legs, and then she's going to come out here and be able to just, let it rip again.
Okay. No changing now. We're committed, right? We made these predictions.
No, can't change. Damn.
Oh man.
Give us at least a fourth place. I've run that half marathon. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. It'll make you tired, especially since it's so early.
There's some laughy face emojis here in my text with David, and he said, I can still see her doubling and winning the 50K. She's that good. Yes, she is. So I'm sticking by my guns here. Moving on to the Tarawera 100K. Let's do the same thing. Let's go top three unless the tickets are rolling down. Okay, so we want to cover the predictions for the tickets as well as the podium. Tim, do you want to get us started on this one?
All right. So I was texting with the Western States Assistant Race Director, Carrie Mang. She landed this morning, our time, and she is out there ready to hand out these tickets. I will start with the men. I'm going to go with Shen in third place, TNF athlete, and he's going to get his way back into Western States. I'll preface this. Like, I think someone in the chat just said they're the defending fantasy Freetrail champion for Black Canyon's 50K. I don't think I've ever cracked the top 400 in fantasy. So take whatever I say with the entire container of salt. But I vote with my heart, not with my head all the time. In second place, I'm going with my boy Cole Watson. I want him back in States. I think he's going to do it. I have Shen in fourth, Cole in third, Petter in second, and Dan in first. But Dan doesn't need a ticket. Petter's going to turn down his ticket. So that means that they roll to Cole and Shen are my two for the men. Going to the women's side, I have to go down to 5 because I think the first 3 are going to kind of shake things up. So in 5th place, I have Lucy taking a ticket. I have Katie Asmuth in 4th, taking a ticket. I have Beth McKenzie in 3rd, unable to take a ticket. Caitlin Fielder in 2nd, already has a ticket. And Ruth Croft is going to defend her title, have 4 Tarawera 100K titles to her name, and she's going to turn down the ticket, is what I have for this.
Good calls. Danny, you want to go next?
Yes. So for the men, I'm gonna go 4 deep. In fourth place, I have Jia Shen taking the ticket. And then I have Ken Hualao in third, also taking the ticket. It's so hard with me, Petter and Dan. I'll give the nod to Dan just because he is the defending champ. I just think they're gonna have an incredible battle. So those two, second and first. And then on the women's side, this was also hard not to vote with my heart. I was just talking to EmKay about this. But in fourth place, I have Katie taking a ticket. And then third place, I have Shen Lin taking a ticket. In second, Caitlin, she already has a spot, and then Ruth, the defending champ. It's hard to bet against one of the goats of our sport. And even though she's unsure, I feel like she would know by this point if she wanted to do Western States or not.
Oh.
So that's just my feeling on it. Yeah.
Okay. EmKay?
All right. I am going to go fourth place, Nick Handel taking a ticket. Third place, Jia Shen taking a ticket. Second place, Petter Engdahl taking the ticket. And Dan Jones obviously doesn't need one. Unless you guys mentioned that Petter doesn't need one or wasn't going to take it, or was that just a guess?
He doesn't want one, but it's also only 2 tickets.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So I think Nick Handel and Jia Shen are the 2 ticket holders on the men's side. On the women's side, I'm going to say Lucy Bartholomew in 5th takes a ticket. Beth McKenzie, unable to take one in 4th. Lynn Chen in 3rd takes a ticket. And Caitlin doesn't need one in 2nd. Ruth will win, but will not take a ticket.
Okay. We've definitely got a pattern on the women's side. I've got the exact same ballot as Tim, so I'll just skip over that. But long story short, Katie Asmith, Lucy Bartholomew get the tickets in 4th and 5th for me. Ruth Croft, Caitlin Fielder, Beth McKenzie, top 3. Sort of similar on the men's side. I think we've got consensus. Dan Jones is going to win the race. In second place for me, Nick Handel takes a ticket in second place. This is his big breakout.
Let's go.
I love this.
He's an overachiever and everything in life. He's a great, great athlete. Nick, we're rooting for you here from the SFRC Marin County community. I think he just falls short from the great Dan Jones. I've got Petter in 3rd. I'm not convinced he won't take the ticket. So, that's who I've got penciled in taking the ticket. If it were, I'm sure that Carrie Mang, the assistant race director, will be doing valiant peer pressuring there at the finish line to shove the ticket in Petter's face. We would love to have him back at Western States. If he doesn't, I've got Duo G, who is 4th place at UTMB, taking the ticket to Western States next year. Also, just one of these very strong Chinese athletes who in America doesn't get as much shine, but when you're 10 minutes off the podium at UTMB, you're an absolute dog. And I had Shen also in the top 5 there too. So anyway, a lot of crossover. Moving on to the grand finale, the Black Canyon 100K. And again, let's just go as deep as the tickets go. Maybe EmKay, you get us started on this one.
Okay, I gotta look at my picks real quick and see who needs tickets. On the men's side, because there's 3, I'm gonna go Stephen Kirsch in 5th, takes a ticket. Hans Troyer in 4th, doesn't need one. Trayson Knopp in 3rd, takes a ticket. Eli Hemming in 2nd, takes a ticket. This is assuming that Francesco is running, he wins. Doesn't need a ticket.
Okay, so the breaking news at the top of the show didn't influence your ballot.
No.
So you're
based on Canyon's 100K last year. Based on that Canyon's 100K performance last year, I just cannot bet against even a slightly injured Francesco Puppi. That was insane. Okay, and then on the women's side, this one was really hard for me, and I still am not totally sure about it. So I'm gonna go Tara Dower. No, Tara doesn't need one. So Kytriona Jennings in 5th takes a ticket. Tara Dower in 4th doesn't need a ticket. Jen Lichter in 3rd takes a ticket. Abby Hall does not need one. She finishes 2nd. And I'm going to go Dark Horse and Flower for 1st. Takes a ticket.
Great pick. Dani, you go next.
So I'll start with the women. In 5th place, I have Tara Dower, doesn't need a ticket. 4th place, Riley Brady takes the ticket. third place, Jennifer Lichter takes the ticket. Ann Flower takes the ticket in second place. I really think Ann's going to pop off at Black Canyons this year. Like, she's got wheels. And then we have the Western States home course. I just think she's firing on really great cylinders right now. Abby Hall taking the win. Doesn't need a ticket. She's already got Cougar. And then on the men's side, I just need to make sure how deep I go. Yes, so I have Stephen Kirsch in 5th. Oh no, so it would be Anthony Costales 4th, taking the ticket. Hans Troyer in 3rd, doesn't need a ticket. Eli Hemming in 2nd, taking the ticket. Also Puppi in 1st. Oh, so in that case, I do have Stephen Kirsch in 5th, taking the ticket because it's 3.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Tim?
So it sounds like we all think Puppi will start and then drop out, or that's what I'm factoring in now with that information. So in 5th place, but not until the last, 20 miles, Blake Slattergan is going to be 5th place. We have Coleman Cragen in 4th place, taking a ticket to States. Anthony Costales in 3rd, taking a ticket to States. Eli in 2nd, taking a ticket. And then I got our young kid, Hans, taking a dominant win and cementing his name in in every conversation for 2026.
Bet on Hans.
Yep.
Does that make him then the man?
Nope. He's a kid for a while.
Oh, he's the kid?
Yeah, he's gonna be he's got to go through college still, so he's got to make some mistakes and mess up, but we'll anoint him as the man. Probably, I don't know, it could be a decade before I even give him that title. So on the women's side, let's see, counting backwards, I have, with all the respect and love, I actually have Abby in 5th, and I hope she doesn't win. It's weird to say that, but I want her to train with the vengeance that she wants to defend her title. And as we've been saying, if she is firing on too many cylinders February 14th, I'm a little concerned. So I think 5th place would be amazing, and because I think everyone's actually going to run very fast. I have Jen Lichter taking 4th, taking a ticket. Again, I vote with my heart. I'm going to go with an upset, and it's unlike what we typically see in the transition from roads to trail, but I think talent is talent. And also with guidance, there's higher specificity than we've seen from some other road athletes trying to make the transition. I'm putting Molly Seidel in 3rd, taking a ticket to Western States. Then I have Tara Dower taking 2nd place, and then Riley is 1st. Although I was also kind of debating, it's hard to defend. And I just have this little, I don't even want to say it, but I think Riley could end up having a little bit of a tough day. And if that's the case, I have Jade coming in at 5th place if it doesn't pan out.
Okay. Very, very interesting here. And we definitely have, some contrasting opinions here. So I'll close this down starting with the men, and I'm going to go top to bottom. In 1st place, Eli Hemming wins this race, finally cracks the code on 100K. The best 50K athlete in the world, arguably, becomes in that conversation for the 100K. 2nd place, young and fit, Hans Troyer. I feel like he and Eli are going to have a battle. 3rd and 4th place, I've got our big breakthroughs here. Coleman Cragen in 3rd, Finian Jacobson Schulte in 4th. I feel like this is going to be very similar to what I mentioned earlier, Hupiter, Carrera Casas, Trueheart, Brown, Will Murray, even like Chris Myers was sort of like that when he got his golden ticket here. So that puts my tickets, Eli, Coleman, Finian. I also have Kirsch in 5th place. Women's side, I also have Abby Hall winning this race. And it's interesting that you say that, Tim. It's weird to say, I hope she doesn't win, right? Because she knows that she can win this race, but the big goal is in June. I still feel like she showed it at that Aravaipa race at the end of the season last year where she won outright, shattered the course record. She's in great fitness. She is still sort of bouncing back from a disappointment at UTMB. I feel like she's probably hungry, her parents live in the area. She and her husband live up in Flagstaff, but come down. I think she's been training on the course a lot. I think Abby Hall takes a big signature victory. 2nd place, Ann Flower takes a ticket. Tara Dower in 3rd. doesn't need the ticket. Jen Lichter in 4th takes the ticket. Molly Seidel in 5th takes the ticket. And here's where maybe we tie it back to the scenario speculation as we close here. As I meditate on this, okay, I envisioned how the women's race might play out, right? I feel like Abby Hall, Ann Flower, Molly Seidel, Jen Lichter, Riley Brady, they're all going through 50K basically together. I feel like Ann and Abby break away after 50K and they have a duel like Keely and Heather did a couple of years ago. I feel like Tara then makes up ground in the second half, runs her way onto the podium. Jen, Molly, Riley all fade, but still stay in the top 10. Okay, that's my scenario here. On the men's side, I've got Francesco, Eli, Hans, Costales going off the front, eventually pull away from the group. Francesco drops out, adductor. Eli's Killer Instinct wins. Hans fades a little bit, but also a duel like Costales versus Tom Evans a couple of years ago. In this case, Eli versus Hans. And then I feel like Coleman and Finian run together all day, moving through the field, eventually into golden ticket positions and big, massive breakthroughs. Any comments on scenario? Like, are we looking at wire to wire? Are we looking at big packs? Are we looking at late passes? Are we looking at come from behinds potentially? It's been a few years since we've seen somebody like actually come from behind to win at Black Canyon.
I'm not seeing any come from behind to wins on either side. I do think that both races are going to come down to those last like 15 to 20 miles. But I do just want to comment that I see different all of our Black Canyon picks were compared to the other 2 races.
Yep. Because it's deeper, you know, it just makes it there's more options.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do think Eli. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. I'll round it out.
I was going to say, I really think Eli, with Francesco kind of being like the X factor this time, does he finish the race? Does he pull out? I think regardless, Eli is going to go under the course record. Like, I think this is when he's figured it out. The poor guy, like, had a hypothalamus. Something happened to his hypothalamus when he won OCC. And basically that's like the part of your brain that manages your temperature, and it's been something that he's been managing through all these races. And so last year at Black Canyon, that's kind of what happened to him, is that he felt fine, but the body started shutting down thinking it was too hot. And so I think he just has that dialed, and Eli is going to pop off. And having a Hans Troyer fresh off a JFK 50 miler, I think it is one of those like cross country into indoor track situations where he's also going to be flying. But comment on the women's side, I do not see a world where Riley and Jen do not take this out under course record pace. Like,
Absolutely.
They are both aggressive front runners. Jen likes separation, and we've seen it works for her. I don't know why she wouldn't try something different. And like, Jen is a straight killer. Like, she is there for CRs and competition. And so I think we're going to see a very, very fast pace on the women's side.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you went first, Dani, because it teased me up perfectly. I had Riley, Tara, Molly, and Jen in my front pack. And it's basically, as I said the other night, Riley knows they can run 8:16. So why dilly-dally and let other people into the mix? Take it out, knowing that Jen is, like, mirrors that energy. The two of them will be there. But then also Tara has that dog in her. She will not, like, she could be bleeding from mile 1 and like somehow find a way to get to the finish line, like, you know, with absolutely like no energy left, but she just has that. And then Molly, like I said, talent is talent, and she doesn't know what she doesn't know. And she's a competitor. So she's going to latch onto that train. Whether or not she can handle it and hang on, time will tell, but I would not be surprised because, as I said, she has had some specificity in this block. And so that foursome is going to be fireworks.
Dude, I am so psyched. I'm so glad we did this scenario speculation here. And I totally agree. I mean, how exciting would that be just to see Riley and Jen just
duking it out?
But
and that's like they can both
stick.
stick it. They both can very stick it, and that's 2 tickets. So if I was in the race, I'm like, well, I gotta go. Like, that's 2 tickets. 95% chance those tickets are gone now. So like, I have to go.
Wow.
And get that 3rd ticket.
So interesting. And what a great point as we close here, Dani. Like, when that happens, there will be a ripple effect through the entire women's race, right? Same thing is true on the men's side, right? If all of a sudden it's Eli, Costales, Hans off the front, or Stephen Kirsch, maybe somebody who doesn't have a ticket, then everybody who's in the race who has those golden ticket aspirations, whether they want to or not, they're put in a position where they have to respond, or at least it impacts them psychologically, which we all know can impact your performance on race day. What a fantastic show. What a fantastic bit of banter and speculation and prognostication here. I appreciate all your guys' perspectives here. As we close, everybody, thanks so much for watching our coverage here leading up to the races themselves. Make sure you watch both Black Canyon races on the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel. Races start at 7 o'clock both days, Saturday and Sunday. I don't believe there's a live stream for Tarawera tomorrow, but we've got boots on the ground there. I'll be following the tracker all day tomorrow. And like I said, we will do our Tarawera instant recap show as soon as the tickets come across the line there in Rotorua, New Zealand. It'll probably be, I think, 6 or 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll be live on YouTube, and then we'll close things down with our Black Canyon instant recap show, which again will not be live on Saturday evening once those tickets come through. Also, we'll do that recording and post it as soon as we can. Hopefully we informed everybody's fantasy ballots. Go get your picks in, fantasy.freetrail.com. Like I said, we've got great prize packages on the line, some great merch that is being modeled by our co-hosts here tonight, plus some fire new ACG Ultraflies, which you can see behind me here in studio. So go get your picks in for a chance to win some great prizes. If you missed our preview shows, you can go back and watch or listen to those. And I think that's about it. A big thank you to our co-hosts here, Dani Moreno, EmKay Sullivan, Tim Tollefson. You'll be hearing more from all of us soon. On behalf of the whole Freetrail team, I'm Debo. See you tomorrow. Peace out.